Hello, this is Matt Lapointe-Smith with Group 3 and our final Thesaurus on LGBTQ+ historical movements. The scope of this thesaurus includes highlights of the LGBTQ+, meaning lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, plus, activist communities, and movements from 1966 to the present day. The purpose of this thesaurus is to provide a foundation and reference resource for scholars seeking to learn more about the LGBTQ+ history and the people who helped create change for that community. Targeted to college-level students participating in what could be considered an LGBTQ+ Studies 101 format. It serves users by offering preferred terms in the domain and the relationships between those terms. The relationships covered include broader terms as indicated by BT, narrower terms indicated by NT, related terms indicated by RT, and equivalence relationships between preferred and non-preferred terms indicated by use and use for, which is expressed as the acronym UF. Scope notes are included regarding the more complex terms or relationships. The hierarchical and associative relationships between the terms help the users get a better grasp of the domain area. The terms are organized alphabetically in the alphabetical index and hierarchically in the classified index. The thesaurus is a controlled vocabulary meant to facilitate both indexing and searching. While compiling the thesaurus, our group developed an initial list of about 230 terms. After eliminating duplicates and discussing term variants, we had about 195 terms which we entered in Synaptica. We then walked through all of the terms, determining their relevance and frequency of relations to other terms, narrowing our list to a final number of 142, with 127 preferred terms and 15 non-preferred terms. Domain analysis was conducted through evaluation of special collections and thesauri, article review, and historical studies. We emphasized extracting terms from sources constructed and/or authored by members of the LGBTQ+ community, such as the Homosaurus. In regards to term selection, we use the ANSI-NISO standards to help us determine the final terms. For the matter of proper nouns, we also use the Anglo-American cataloging rules for individuals, organizations, and places in order to limit difficulties for users, and then we cross-check them with the Library of Congress authority file. The standards listed here were particularly useful. We used scope notes as user guidance for understanding relationships. Articles were removed from terms when the term would make sense alone. Adjectives were also removed when possible to minimize the number of compound words. We abbreviated terms when it was common to use the abbreviations. Following standards for unique entities, we expressed our terms as singular. And in accordance with Standard 6.7 for capitalization, we only capitalized the proper nouns. We also referred to the standard for polyhierarchical relationships because many of our terms were related to others through whole part and generic relationships. For example, Compton's Cafeteria Riot is both a narrower term of civil rights demonstrations and Compton's Cafeteria. This is because it exists within two hierarchical relationship structures, as a part of the whole movement and as a part of the whole location where it took place. We selected the word-by-word filing, which is in accordance with the ANSI-NISO guidelines. Word-by-word filing keeps terms that start with the same word together for easier user browsing. As mentioned above, we used Synaptica to help with our taxonomy management. For the facet analysis, we used Atchinson's et al.'s fundamental facets listed here. We chose this method to help us draw relationships between terms, and so we can identify which terms will need clarification for users. We added the custom facet laws for the individual and group laws that we have in our terms. This is an example of our classified index. Our terms are demonstrated as being classified based on similar characteristics, which are the facets. The facets are shown here in angle brackets because, as mentioned before, they are not part of the index. The terms that fall into each facet are shown with an indentation indicating narrower terms. Here's an example of how our terms are displayed in the alphabetical index. Our preferred terms are in bold. As one can see, the term social movements is not a preferred term. We have use, civil rights demonstrations, as the preferred term instead. Our terms are all in alphabetical order, and then relationship terms such as RT, BT, and NT are also alphabetical, as shown in the example of the RT for Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence. For equivalent relationships, we signify a preferred equivalent term by bolding the word and employ the word use to refer users to the preferred term. For example, with Gay Liberation Movement, the preferred term is Gay Liberation Front. So we wrote for Gay Liberation Movement, use Gay Liberation Front. Under the preferred term, we also noted that Gay Liberation Front should be used in place of the term Gay Liberation Movement, instructing UF for use for. For hierarchical relationships, we use BT for broader terms and NT for narrower terms. For the term ACT UP, we have the broader term of civil rights demonstrations because it is a type of civil rights demonstration. Therefore, we also put ACT UP as a narrower term of civil rights demonstrations. For the associative relationships, which are those that are neither hierarchical nor equivalent, we use RT. In the chart here, we show that the terms Day of Desperation, ACT UP, and Ashes Action are all related terms because they are all types of civil rights demonstrations, and the fact that they fall into the same category is what connects these terms to each other. Here are the resources we used to make this presentation and share the history of LGBTQ+ activist community. Thank you for watching.